Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Basketball PH podcast. Enjoy the show.
Fantasy Basketball PH. Put your money where your mouth is. At ibang talakayan kaya tara halika. Fantasy Basketball PH ang Fantasy Basketball PH. Ang numero unong basketball patasya ng Pinas. Fantasy Basketball PH. Dito mapag-uusapan mga ballers na ligas. Fantasy Basketball PH. Put your money where your mouth is. Iba't ibang talakayan kaya tara halika. Fantasy Basketball PH ang bida. Ang pahina na ito'y magsisilbing daungan sa mga hilig na ang basketball ay mapag-usapan. Kasama si Papi Ray, madami kang matututunan gaya ng strategy, analysis sa kaganapan. Pag-uusapan ang DFS, roto head to head, buy low, sell high, add, draft and trade, magic puno at iba pang transaction sa laro. Lahat dito'y tatalakayin kayo, wag na lumayo. Bida dito yung mga player na magaling kumamada, mala Nikola Jokic at Victor Wembanyama. Yung mga hustle na player like Russell and Dillon at iba pa ay dito natin pwedeng makonsyon. Let's talk about NPBL, UAAP and PBA together with NCAA and NBA. At sa lahat ng mga nangungopya ka ng literal, sa aking mga content di rin kayo magtatagal.
Okay, welcome to the Fantasy Basketball PH podcast, your Filipino brand of fantasy basketball, ang numero unong fantasy basketball podcast ng Pinas. And of course, this is a very, very special episode. We're going to have and held this episode in response to our first ever, the inaugural FBPH Warzone. So we're gonna have it in English for today. Sana hindi tayo maubusan ng English. I think my nose is gonna bleed. But before we start the show, let's just give a big props to our sponsor, the sponsor for giving the path for this specific league. Shout out to Daily Fantasy. Lead your team to championship. So Daily Fantasy is the #1 daily fantasy app in the Philippines. So if you want to check them out, just go to www.playdailyfantasy.com. Again, that's www.playdailyfantasy.com. So you can easily play NBA fantasy here, DFS. That goes as well with local sports, and I think there's gonna be more than basketball that is part of the service for Daily Fantasy. So big props to Daily Fantasy. Another thing is, let me just skip this slide. Big shout out to the representatives of Team World. Big shout out to several representation that they have. So of course, some Adam represents FBI, Fantasy Basketball International. Dan Titus for Yahoo Fantasy and Roto World. Rafael Johnson for Roto World as well. You have Matty G and Scott Keller representing Insight Fantasy Basketball, and Manny Spadman, Mitch Casey for the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball podcast. You have NBA Fantasy Bible, DMAC, Bitches Be Ballin', Kayla, and then all you of course Eric Zilber for day-to-day fantasy. There's a lot, right? So I totally forgot. So apparently Mitch Casey will replace Dan Titus for this specific league. So yeah, that's the update. Okay, so before we do a quick analysis for this the actual draft that was done, let me just share to you the rules. So the rules for this specific league, this is a customized league. So I thought of creating a league that is team centric instead of the usual fantasy aspect that you only think about your team, you only think about your draft, who to draft, which players do you want, and all. So this time, it's more of like, it's not just your team, but it's also considering your teammates, because it's divided into two teams. So 8 GMs for per team, two teams, Team Philippines and Team World. And then for both teams, there's gonna be two captains, and the two captains, me and Adam King, already decided who goes first. So we did a online Jack and Poy, and I luckily won over Adam King. So Team Philippines picks first. So essentially, in a sense, it's also a Wemby versus Jokic league. And then another rule is we're gonna do alternating draft order. So since Team Philippines goes first, so I'm gonna pick first, and then Adam King, and then uh, Team Philippines, and then Team World, and so on and so forth. So, uh, me and Adam King already decided who goes first. So we had our draft order prior to the actual draft. Another key rule here is there are no trades, and then we are going to battle and have a matchup against the opponent's team all throughout the season. So meaning, Team Philippines won't match up with their co-Team Philippines member. We are only going up against Team World the whole season. Nice, right? So it's really just literally head-to-head teams going up against another, and for the actual team champion to be determined, we will compute the accumulated stats of all of the teams across the season. So, meaning all of the scores of Team Philippines in summation versus all of the score of Team World in summation. And then, still, on top of that, there's going to be a league champion, but that's the catch. Because, of course, we always try to win on our own and become a league champion. So, let's see if that impacts the draft and that impacts the dynamics of the team aspect of this specific league. Okay, I hope you got that because that's very important to consider in listening and understanding the dynamics of this customized league. Okay, so I hope this is visible. I'm not sure if it's visible to you, but I'm gonna definitely try my best to be as descriptive as I can so you can see it. Unfortunately, I only draft via mobile phone. Surprisingly, for years I've been doing fantasy basketball. I never drafted using a laptop. I actually did a couple, and that was a draft, a mock draft instead. So still, I haven't really tried drafting via laptop. So I kind of like pieced the puzzle to come up with this draft board because we totally forgot about getting a screenshot of the draft board because we're really having a good time, and we're having some chaos in our Zoom call during the draft. Okay, so round one. So let's do round one. Again, hopefully for those who are gonna watch this over YouTube, I hope you can see this. But round one, of course, I picked Victor Wembanyama. I don't think there's any um, issues about that. It's either Jokic or Wemby. This is the few times I can actually get Wemby. I had a couple of Jokic in other leagues, so also I'm a Spurs fan, so no other explanation. It's straight up Wemby for me. Adam King picked Nikola Jokic again. I don't think there's reason or there's explanation needed for that. From our Team PH representative, Aklan Archers or Papi Jojo Legaspi chose SGA over Luka Doncic. Maybe a surprise to others, but yeah, he prefers to pick SGA here. Mati G surprisingly picks Anthony Davis. So this is the first surprise for the first round. So Team World getting I don't know if it's a little aggressive or executing a different strategy. So from Team PH, we're quite excited and then also puzzled about this pick. To each its own. I think arguably, Matty G can actually explain his reason maybe soon. And Matty G, can you just drop an explanation about this one? But nonetheless, this gave an opportunity to one of our Team PH GM, which is Simon Simon, to actually get Luka Doncic at 5. So at this point, I guess in terms of value in general assessment, we kind of like love what we have right here. So Team Philippines already got Wembanyama, SGA, and then Luka Doncic. Kayla Fonte picked Tyrese Halliburton after Luka, and then representing the Philippines, one of our top sports writer. I think he's doing a lot of job under Manila Bulletin and other known uh, sports establishment here in the Philippines. So one of the top journalists, one of the commissioners as well, and other premium leagues here in the Philippines, a veteran of the fantasy community here in PH. Papi Joey has been a friend of mine since we kind of like met via fantasy. So that's the history there. And he actually picked Jason Tatum here. Mitch Casey from Ball Boys actually pick a surprising player for round one. Jason Tatum to some is a little bit surprising, but Lamelo Ball at pick what? 3, 5, 8. Lamelo Ball at pick 8. This was a surprise for me and everyone. And we got we were hyped about this pick because we thought that, oh, definitely a player's gonna slide. So we initially thought that around this area, maybe Trey Young will get picked, or maybe an early James Harden will be picked. Of course, Giannis is already an option here, but I mean, if Mitch Casey loves Lamelo, so let him do that. And then from our team representing fantasy basketball crew, Brian Dailisan picked Giannis Antetokounmpo. After that, DMAC from NBA representing the in between two hoops, picked Joel Embiid. I thought they were gonna pave away from Joel Embiid. I usually see Trey Young being picked in this area, but Dimac is a bold man. He actually tweeted a couple of minutes ago that he was trying to be aggressive for Team World. So yeah, props to Dimac here picking Joel Embiid. To some, they don't like Joel Embiid being picked as early as this, but value wise, I think you can't go wrong with Joel Embiid unless he gets hurt, right? So that's the only caveat. Uh, Papi Mike from SG picked Trey Young. I guess at least in the later part of the draft, this is value here. Raphael Johnson picked Stephen Curry. And then Pat Mamba, next level fantasy, pick James Harden. So we kind of like stabilized at this point. Day-to-day fantasy, Eric Zilber picking Donovan Mitchell. And then Papi Nolly picking Scotty Barnes. So there was a strategy why he picked Scotty Barnes here. He kind of like thought that there's a chance that Scott Keller may pick up Scotty Barnes, and he really wanted Scotty Barnes, even though, well, this is almost a back-to-back pick. So for me, the sequence of value doesn't matter. It's more of like the strategy behind that. So that's Papinoli's strategy. So he picked Scotty Barnes, and then Scott Keller picked Kyrie Irving and Chet Holmgren back to back. So Scott Keller usually in terms of pick, usually in the Philippines, Kyrie Irving kind of like slides, but Scott Keller really values the per game value of Kyrie Irving. So most likely that's the reason behind that. And then of course Chet Holmgren, one of the most sought after big man in this season. So I think there's no question there. And then Carl Anthony Towns picked early by Papi Noli. Me personally, I'm also high with Carl Anthony Towns. I think this is a good pick, especially to the point that you're getting a premium big man with the ability to provide a lot of stats and still have good percentages. So in his new home in New York, we don't know. Maybe he gets back to his first rounder form. Let's see. Let's see. So that's most likely the thinking there by Papinoli. Day to day, picking Anthony Edwards next. Pat Mamba picking Domantas Sabonis. You have here Kevin Durant, who usually slides, picked by Team World, Raphael Johnson, Dame Lillard by Papi Mike. So there's a back-to-back Trey Young, Damian Lillard going on here. DMAC followed up Joel Embiid by Devin Booker. So me personally, I don't know if you saw my post about how do I not literally guarantee bulletproofing Joel Embiid, but I usually either get a Philadelphia 76er just to, just in case someone gets a bump if Joel Embiid sits or something happened to him, or I'm gonna ensure that I have a strong big man. But that's the problem because at this point, a couple of big men in the early rounds, namely Domantas Sabonis, Chet Holmgren, and Carl Anthony Towns were already picked. So it's hard. I don't see um, D-Mac reaching too much for a big here, so he went Devin Booker. Fantasy basketball crew pumped a little bit more of efficiency to Giannis Antetokounmpo by getting Jalen Brunson, and then Mitch Casey obviously is at this point punting field goal percentage, getting a Lamelo Ball, Paul George pairing. Sportsmar Josep, Papi Joey Villar getting Triple J to partner with Jason Tatum, getting some blocks at this point. And then Kayla Fonte, usually Jalen, I thought I was actually planning in picking Jalen Williams or J Dub at the turn, but he or she actually picked J Dub earlier than usual. The Luka Doncic of Papi Simon picked De'Aaron Fox here at in a sense, it's a usual pairing. And then Anthony Davis picked FVV. So Fred Van Vliet has been falling in some of the drafts in the Philippines because I don't know, maybe it's about the placement of the ADP, or maybe the Philippine community doesn't have a lot of love for FVB. But for me, he's a top pick in the latter part of the second round. Actually, I was planning to pick Fred Van Vliet and J Dub for my Victor Wembanyama build, but they were actually picked earlier than my expectation. So after Fred Van Vliet, Aklan Archers, Papi Jojo picking Jalen Johnson, another upside pick in the second round, someone that has a good floor but still has upside. And then Adam King partnering the original Jokic to the baby Jokic by picking Alperen Sengun. So at this point, I was surprised that LeBron James was actually available. It's not my plan. I don't usually partner LeBron James to Victor Wembanyama. But I have to. I have to pick him. I don't want him to slide anymore. It's picked in the third round, but essentially he was my first pick. It's more of like a Q thing. So I was thinking, do I go Cam Cade Cunningham, because I'm planning to actually punt field goal percentage, but I also checked out several guards here, and then thinking that this is a 16 team, I kind of like leaned on trying to be you know stabilized first in terms of efficiency. And I also think there's an upside of scoring for Tyrese Maxey over Cade Cunningham, especially in those games if Joel Embiid sits or something happened to Joel Embiid. So there's an additional upside. So with that said, I picked Tyrese Maxey to partner up with the king, LeBron James. So in my mind, I was really trying to conserve a very good free throw percentage for my Wemby build. But with LeBron James in mind, I have to do something, right? So later on, I'm going to explain my thinking. Kingy picking Zion Williamson. So I thought Kingy will try to conserve Nikola Jokic good percentages in terms of free throws. I usually do that to Nikola Jokic, but he kind of like switched to a different direction, getting additional all-around stats by choosing Alfred Sengun. And then for Zion Williamson, I'm thinking this is more of like a field goal percentage boost. After that, Evan Mobley was picked by Aklan Archers or Jojo Legaspi, and then Matty G picking Laurie Markkanen. This is a good pick. Hopefully, he plays more this season in the Utah Jazz lineup. Team Spirit or Simon Simon picking Bama Debayo, and then another surprise pick by Kayla Fonte, Derek White. So usually Derek White is picked after several names, like for example Desmond Bain, Jimmy Butler, Jamorant, even Emmanuel quickly around that area, but he was picked a little bit earlier here. But of course, every GM has a plan. I don't think there's kind of like a bad pick as long as you have a plan, as long as you have a strategy. So he's trying to get a lot of stats already here. Sports Mariosa, Papi Joy Villar picking Miles Turner. So he already got Triple J and Miles Turner in his pocket. So there's a lot of blocks going on early for Papi Joey. And then Ball Boys, Mitch Casey picking Cade Cunningham. So to some extent, the Lamelo Ball is now justified because as you can see, there's a theme that was highlighted here, specifically the punt field goal theme, and then there's several categories being touched as well. So yeah, so because to some, I think this is going to be surprising. I'm also gonna be interested in the thought thinking of Mitch Casey here of picking Lamelo Ball. Giannis Antetokounmpo's team picks Emmanuel quickly for his third round. Papi Brian Dailisan and then DMAC picking Jimmy Butler. Two, kind of like at this early, it's more of like assessing the possibilities, right? When you already have Joel Embiid and then you double down with Jimmy Butler. Wow. So when talk about aggressive, I think DMAC has been really aggressive in this round, having the balls to really pick couple of names that usually general public doesn't like to draft early. Papi Mike picking Rudy Gobert after picking two guards. He now have his primary center in Rudy Gobert. Raphael Johnson picking Jamorant, partnering with Curry and Durant. Pat Mamba picking Desmond Bain. So there's a lot of teams getting a lot of stats already here. I don't see any reach so far. DeJounte Murray to Eric Zilber. Papinolo picking Franz Wagner. And then Scott Keller ending this round with Jamal Murray. And talking about, players that could have questions in their name. So Scott Keller drafted Kyrie Irving. I think it's healthy. I don't have a lot of precautions for Kyrie Irving for this season. The fact that he showed up super healthy in the playoffs, that's encouraging. And let's see, because anything can happen. But at this point in the fourth round, he started off with Kawhi Leonard. So if Kawhi Leonard plays a lot, this is a good value pick for Scott Keller. If not, then let's see what's the maneuver from Scott Keller on how would he manage his team without Kawhi Leonard, or if Kawhi Leonard miss a couple of weeks. Papinoli picking Darius Garland here. I think he's one of the value pick guards at this point. Day-to-day fantasy picking DeMar DeRozan. Pat Mamba getting his second big with Jarrett Allen. And then Raphael Johnson starting from a little bit of an efficient couple of names, Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant, followed by Ja Morant and Paulo Banquero, who kind of like also has some deficiency in terms of the stats. To pump up his points, Papi Mike complemented Rudy Gobert with Jalen Brown in the fourth round. T-Mac picking DeAndre Ayton to support Joel Embiid here. Fantasy Basketball Crew, this is the luxury of getting a Giannis Antetokounmpo. You get to pick players like Pascal Siakam, which is giving you a lot of stats, but it's not as polished in terms of the field goal first, the free throw percentage. So this is a good complementary pick to Papi Brian here. Mikal Bridges by Ball Boys International. So Mitch Casey doesn't have a big man yet. I think he's trying to build a small lineup for this specific league. Papi Joy Villar with Josh Giddy, his first assist guy. Kayla Fonte getting Nikola Vucevic. It's still clean here. Percentage is still clean. And there's a lot of stats already for Kayla. Team Spirit getting a Nick Claxton. Very understandable because he already had Luka and the Aaron Fox. So, free throw percentage isn't a question anymore for this build. Isaiah Hartenstein, who was personally my pick in this round, was actually chosen by Matty G. One of the favorites globally, not only international but also in the Philippines. Jalen Duren picked by Papi Jojo Legaspi. Adam King also pick my target here, Cam Thomas, just one pick away. So the reason why I wanted Isaiah Hartenstein is there's several big man that is really clear cut punt free throws, and I think Isaiah Hartenstein is someone that is above the rest of the big mans. He has also the ability to provide assist in the big man position. So I love that about Hartenstein, but then again, all other GMs love that, so it was picked ahead of time. Cam Thomas, I really wanted because I was concerned about the scoring from my end. Plus, I wanted to try to is the free throw percentage of LeBron James. So I need someone that is strong in free throws, and Cam Thomas, brings that. But then again, I wasn't able to pick Cam Thomas. So Adam King is getting a lot of scorers in this build right now. With that said, I chose D'Angelo Russell. I'm a punt, field goal, uh I have a punt field goal build for Victor Wembanyama, so I needed to get good guards, so to get also some guard stats. So that's the reason why I chose D'Angelo Russell. It also pumps my snipes, and I think he's a decent steals guy and assist guy as well. So that gives me a lot of assist in the first 4 rounds too. Then I have to compliment Victor Wembanyama. I had a feeling in my mind. I really had a feeling that I have to kind of like reach someone that really blocks. Because there's a lot of GMs here that could be planning the same thing, and this actually end up a good pick for me when you see the following rounds. Another good stuff by Brook Lopez. I understand it's a little bit early, even for my taste, but given the situation, his good free throws plus his blocks actually complements my build. So at least as of the moment, it's only LeBron who has a bad free throw in my end. I'm a little bit concerned with my points, but let's see what can I do next. Kingy, well, this is a little bit surprise for me as well. Picking Colin Sexton at this point, I thought that there's several names that can be picked. I'm not sure about the logic here. I'm looking at the angle of Colin Sexton having a good percentage for a scoring guard, and it still maintains the scoring. So if you compare several teams, even with mine, Kingy trumps me in scoring already. So yeah, well, unless of course Victor Wembanyama, Max, and LeBron really get a lot of scoring. Tobias Harris picked by Aklan Archers, OG Anunoby by Matty G, Team Spirit, Miles Bridges. So I'm just running this down because these are I don't find anything wrong or something notable in this pick. These are as expected. Drew Holiday picked by Kayla, so he already got the two front guards of the Boston Celtics. So go Team Boston for Kayla. Sports Mariosep, Joey Villar picking Jordan Poole here. Ball Boys International picked Brandon Miller. So as you can see, there's several guard stat guy. So two Charlotte Hornets already for Mitch Casey. Fantasy Basketball Crew picking Zach Lavine. So people usually don't pick Zach Lavine for some reason. And one big reason is, the uncertainty of the Chicago Bulls relationship with Zach Lavine. Followed by Bradley Beal talking about another player that people that are trying to really not pick. But, there's to each his own, but I think at this point, this is a value pick for DMAC. Walker Kessler being picked earlier than usual. I was actually hoping he falls back to me in the following round. He's my next pick, actually. But knowing Mike, who I've been playing for years now, he understands the value and the build that on what he's trying to do here, especially in a head-to-head format. Brandon Ingram picked by Raphael Johnson, Kyle Guzman by Pat Mamba, TM3 picked by Eric Silver. I think there was an explanation mentioned by Eric Silver in one of his tweets that this is a discount for TM3 just because of his upside. And because he has an injury, so he actually nabbed Trey Murphy the moment he had a chance. Austin Reeves picked by Papi Nolly here, and then Scott Keller with Jakub Pertl to end the fifth round. Okay, starting the sixth round, Scott Keller started it strong with Keegan Murray. I like Keegan Murray as one of the, do-it-all guy wing. And then another wing picked by Papinoli with a lot of steals, Herb Jones. And then another wing, Devin Vassell by Day-to-Day Fantasy. So there are several wings already popping. I think Devin Vassell is already practicing as much as he can, but still limited. And in November 1st is the specific date that the San Antonio Spurs will actually give the reassessment for his injury. So that's double injured players for day to day fantasy. Pat Mamba picking Ivica Zufac, which is also one of my target bigs, but at this point, I guess especially the Filipino GMs already knows that there's gonna be a big man run. Talking about big man run, Rafael Johnson getting Jabari Smith, another player that I wanted in this round. Tyler Hero by Papi Mike, boosting some scoring because you pick Rudy Gobert, you pick Walker Kessler, you really need to provide some scoring behind those picks. Mark Williams picked by DMAC, another big man and another player that might probably be stashed in the first couple of weeks, but similar to other updates, it's optimistic for the Charlotte Hornets, but that's PR, so we don't know. But again, at this point, it's a big man run, and I think DMAC wanted to really secure a quality big man. But it's interesting because he already picked Joel Embiid. So Joel Embiid and Mark Williams in one team. Wow, that's something. Fantasy basketball crew picking Jalen Suggs, Mitch Casey with Anferni Simons. Again, Mitch doesn't have a big man yet. Sports Mariosa picking Terry Rozier, Kayla Fonte, picking Bogdan Bogdanovic, another option of mine in this round. CJ Mack by Team Spirit. Matty G picking Julius Randle. I think Julius Randle is a value pick here, especially now that a lot of scorers has been picked already. I was about to pick him if he slid to my end, even though I don't think he fits my need, but he is already a value at this point. So Julius Randle helping Matty G in this specific round. Clan Archers, Papi Jojo Legaspi picking Onyeka Okongwu. This is his third big man. So at this point, he already has a very strong front court. Jonathan Kuminga by Kingi, another scorer. So back to back to back to back scorers being picked by Kingi. I actually like this pick because he is also part of my list. I was already trying to boost some scoring to my end, given that I picked Brook Lopez in the past round. With that said, I have to pick Kobe White at this point. So I need to another guard and another scorer. So just in case whatever happens to Zach Levine, there's an upside. So I picked Kobe White. Good free throws as well. And followed by this one, I was a little bit concerned. There was a discussion during our Zoom call with the Team PH. But people are suggesting several other names. One name that popped out and was part of my list was either Derek Lively or Dan Gafford. Draymond Green must mention as well. But I end up still picking my first choice with this Jonas, which is Jonas Valanciunas. I know preseason isn't good, but he's the lone quality big man in the Washington Wizards. I think he's also essential with Alex Sarr in their front court. So I end up picking Jonas Valanciunas. He also saves my free throws at least. So as you can see, I actually did a good job protecting LeBron James, not protecting, more of like protecting in general my free throws at this point. It's only LeBron James with not so good free throw percentage for my team. Then I start off round 8 by picking Zach AD. I was a little bit concerned because Jonas Valanciunas isn't known to be a blocker. Um, with the early pick of several bigs with a lot of blocks, Kessler was picked ahead of his ADP. Zubac as well. On my mind, I think Kessler won't be available in the turn, which I was right. And sorry, Kessler was already picked at this point rather. So on my end, I really wanted to boost my blocks. I wanted to reach Alexar, to be honest, because I'm a fan of Alexar. But I thought that there's also a good chance he slides. So it's a matter of like really, hey, do I want to pick my guy or do I try to win 2 rounds by getting ED and Alexar? So maybe that's wrong for me. Maybe I should have gone Alexar at this point. But I'm still happy that I chose Zach ED with the hope that Alexar comes back. So he didn't come back, unfortunately for me. So that's my pick, Zach ED. And then Kingy with an Australian pick here, Ben Simmons. So as you can see, there's at round 8 of 16 team, in with in 12s and in 14s, this is late round already. So Sure, Ben Simmons. People hated Ben Simmons. I see a path that Ben Simmons really contributes this year, but it's an Aussie pick. So shout out to Adam King. He also need additional assist for to help out Nikola Jokic and Sengun here. So there's a lot of out of position assists here. Zion provides assists as well. Cam Thomas and Colin Sexton too. So yeah, Keon Ellis, picked by Aklan Archers, trying to pump up some steals. Another steals guy by Matty G. And then, did I correctly? Oh, sorry. Jonas Valanciunas, after Jonas Valanciunas, it was Amen Thompson. So I was looking at a different round. So I picked Jonas Valanciunas for round 7, and then Amen Thompson picked here by Adam King. Clan Archers picking Tyler Hendricks, getting some good all around guys already. MPJ picked by Matty G. Clint Capella by Tim Spirit. This is his third big man. And then Matty G only got Hartenstein so far. But he already have Olori Markkanen and Julius Randle, and MPJ is a good rebounder. So I think that compensates the rebound. And his first pick is Anthony Davis anyway. So it's more of like only FVV is his guard. So that's kind of like the outlier there. After Team Spirit picking Clint Capella, Draymond Green by Kayla Fonte. So as you can see, that's the plan. So she is picking a lot of all-around stats in this Tyrese Halliburton build. Jalen Green picked by Joey Villar, strong in points. Kabayan Jalen Green, of course, he fell to a Filipino because we're representing Team PH. Yeah. First big man for Mitch Casey, Al Horford, Tito Al. So let's see what happens the moment Kristaps Porzingis jumps in. But while he's away, I think Al Horford is definitely serviceable. Fantasy basketball crew, Brian Daly and picking Alex Caruso, getting some defensive stats in his build. D-Mac picking Chris Paul, pumping some assist in his team. Naz Reid by 3 arrows. Derek Lively by Raphael Johnson. So that's a back-to-back big man for Raphael Johnson. Tyus Jones by Pat Mamba. Dan Gafford by Day to Day. Another big man. So this is actually his first big man. John Collins picked by Papinoli. Still ensuring that his team is very good in percentages. And then another surprise pick. Well, essentially not a surprise. Surprise in a sense that he already got Kawhi Leonard and to some extent Kyrie Irving. Now he picks Kristaps Porzingis. So this is going to be interesting for Scott Keller in the first couple of weeks of this season. Followed by Josh Hart, another glue guy that is sought after in fantasy and will curve a better rotation this year because of the trade. So that starts round 8 for the FBPH Warzone League. Later, we're gonna show like the top teams that was projected by Yahoo, but that's more of like a roto projection. So after Josh Hart, Aaron Nesmith was picked. People are really conservative in picking defensive stats, steals, and all. So you can see how tenured these gems are. Day-to-day fantasy, Yusuf Nurkic lead that far. I think that's a value pick for Arik Zilber. Bobby Portis picked by Pat Mamba. Cam Johnson picked by Raphael Johnson. So, maybe here's a long family lineage for Raphael Johnson. So let me know, Rafi. Alex Sar. So again, Papi Mike getting my pick several rounds already. But yeah, totally fine with me. He's with Team PH, so that's fine. DMAC getting Keontae George, another option of mine. Later, I'm gonna discuss why. And then Fantasy Basketball Crew picking TJD as his which is his actually this is his second big or second center after Giannis Antetokounmpo. But then again, it's more passable given that Giannis is a pant free throw build. Mike Conley picked by Ball Boys. Mitch Casey, so he already got how many guards here? That's Lamelo, Cade, Simons. This is already his fourth guard, and then there's a lot of SGs floating in his team. Marcus Smart by Papi Joy Villar. I was also picked targeting Marcus Smart in this area, trying to pump my steals, but at least he fell to a fellow team PH of mine. RJ Barrett. So Kayla picking, well, this is out of the build for Kayla already because he was super efficient until round 7. But then again, at this point, who can give you good points in the options available. So it does make sense to pick RJ Barrett here. Team Spirit, Papi Simon Simon picking Brandon Podsiemski. And then Matty G. I actually already thought that this could be the area where King will pick Dyson Daniels. And actually, Jojo Legaspi is also planning to take Dyson Daniels. So that's the reason why Jojo instead picked or chose Keon Ellis as his steals guy. And then Kingy, now that Dyson Daniels is gone, possibly that's the reason why he chose Ben Simmons. On my end, again, I already advanced my explanation earlier. I read the wrong round in my explanation, but I chose Zach Edey because Alex Sarr was already picked. Okay, so to start off round 9, a lot of steals guy that I targeted was chosen. A lot of big men with good blocks was chosen. But I also need some scoring. So I was really thinking of, hey, maybe I could get a Clay Thompson. But I was also contemplating, is he really capable to, average around 18 to 20 points in the Dallas Mavericks lineup, and his role and his age? I was kind of like, I don't know, I was contemplated. I was also thinking about Denny Avdia because he has a potential for the late season value. Norman Powell, it was also an option. I even considered Scott Henderson, but I went with Dante DiVincenzo. I think he's a good steals guy, good 3-point shooter, and I just thought that his role in the Minnesota Timberwolves is going to be big this season. I understand there's Julius Randle, but his role as the a scorer, almost a second Anthony Edwards that can shoot and play make. So that's how valuable Dante DiVincenzo is. Followed by Dante DiVincenzo, can you pick Andre Drummond? So, well, he already picked Zion and Alfred Sengun. So, not, it's more of like really getting stats here. So that's the plan of Adam King. So he chose Andre Drummond. I just thought that maybe it's something that him and D-Mac would have talked about first. Because, letting your teammate that picked Joel Embiid get Andre Drummond is a good idea. Letting him have that handcuff. But then again, that's on the Team World side. So I don't know how they communicated earlier. But yeah, I just kind of like at this point I kind of know what King is trying to do here, getting those popcorn stats. Papi Jojo Legaspi picking Andrew Nembhard. At this point, people who wanted guards is gonna go because it's really hard to find guards late. Mate G, speaking of guards late, Jaden Ivey with a new coach seems to be in a good place right now, but is limited with scoring. But who knows, right? Clay Thompson, I mentioned earlier, fell to Team Spirit. Osar Thompson picked by Kayla. This is something that needs to be monitored because there was a weird case with Osar about a nerve. So maybe he plays or he doesn't play. So it's something that we can actually monitor. And then we have Malik Monk, picked by Sports Mariosep, another option of mine. But I thought of picking Dante DiVincenzo because Dante has more defensive stats over Malik Monk. Fantasy Ball Boys picking Chris Middleton, hoping he gets to play a lot more games this season. Denny Avdia, I mentioned earlier, I think this is a strong pick here. That goes as well with Norman Powell for DMAC. Scoot Henderson by Papi Mike. It suits his build because he already got Trey Young. The Anthony Melton, picked by Raphael Johnson. Aaron Gordon by Pat Mamba. Jeremy Grant by Day to Day Fantasy. And then Jalen McDaniels to Papi Nolly. He wanted some additional defensive stats here. And then lastly, Scott Keller with the splash cassin Buddy Hield. To start off round 10, he also picked another shooter here, and steals guy, KCP, old but still good. As far as I remember, at this point, the Team Philippines is already communicating with each other, and KCP was also an option by Papinoli. So that's the reason why he resorted to Grayson Allen instead. Day-to-day fantasy pick PJ Washington. Personally, I like this one. I think this is a good pick. I was hoping someone with defensive stats falls to my lap. Andrew Wiggins is a value pick by Pat Mamba here. Get him some additional scoring punch. Stephon Castle by Rafael Johnson. I am a Spurs fan. I like Stephon Castle. I think it's going to be challenging for him to win the Rookie of the Year, but I'm a blinded Spurs fan, so I'm still gonna root for him. But in fantasy, despite the good showing of the preseason games, I'm not yet bought in that he gets good fantasy year to start of the season. Maybe second half of the season. But yeah, still potential is there, so fine. Stefan Castle for Rafael Johnson. This one I like. Bilal Koulibaly. Papi Mike is just killing me. Picking a lot of players in my queue. So he already got Bilal getting those juicy defensive stats. Followed by Jeremy Son. So as you can see here, all of the defensive guys, all of the upside picks is going down one by one. Garrett Trent Jr. for Fantasy Basketball Crew. Trey Jones, another guard. This is his fifth guard for Mitch Casey. Nick Richards for Papi Joey. Noah Clowney. It really hurt. I was expecting that he falls to my lap here. I thought that, oh, maybe people forgot about him. So very, very nice pick here by Kayla. A very enticing combination of stats for Kayla's team here. Nice, nice. Max Truss picked by Tim Spirit, pumping some snipes there. Shadon Sharp, most likely this is going to be stashed by Matty G, Dennis Schroeder by Aklan Archers, Russell Westbrook, another stats guy. So King is really getting those triple double list of the triple double players in the draft. So to be honest, I was frustrated because the my queue dried up already. And then I saw Wendell Carter Jr. At this point, he's not enticing. There's not a lot of upside, but on a regular basis, Wendell Carter Jr. still provides a good value. The only problem with Wendell Carter Jr. is, his health. Usually he gets hurt easily. But in his heydays, he's almost a 2010 guy. Almost. So most likely, to his respect, possibly around what? 15 and 8 guy or 15 and 7. So I'll take that. Let me take that Wendell Carter Jr. He's a good scorer for a big man. And he is not a good defensive stats guy, but sometimes he does that. So, I just thought that getting a lot of big men here could be an advantage. I haven't really looked and compared everything during the draft, but I just like that pick at that point. I was contemplating between him and Jonathan Isaac, but I ended up picking Wendell Carter Jr. instead. He also shoots from the outside, so why not? Patrick Williams, he has a very, very bad preseason, but he is the starting power forward. He has the path to actually provide and surprise everyone with a breakout season of some sort. There were glimpses before, but so far it's not looking good. I really am sad of this pick. This is the pick that I hated the most. This Patrick Williams pick. But then again, he fits the bill. I wanted someone that is, good in free throws, has a little bit of an upside, can almost do it all. So I'd rather I opted to pick him over Tari Eason. So those two are the ones that I was, contemplating to pick. I ended up with Patrick Williams because he's offensive threat, but I really like Tari Eason as well. So yeah. Jonathan Isaac, I mentioned earlier, that was also an option. Ayoda Sunmu, Karis Levert, and Terrence Mann was picked consecutively. Rui Chumura and Terrence Mann, for me, are almost the same players because they have the same role. It's almost a gray area. Are they defensive players or forward or a scorer or whatnot, but they are only giving scoring most of the time. Speaking of that, I think Jordan Clarkson fall and Grady Dick also falls to those type of players. Corey Kispert, a shooter. Oh wow. Surprisingly, from Terrence Manrio, Chumura, Clarkson, Grady Dick, and Corey Kispert, all and Keldon Johnson almost has the same profile of a player. Kelly Oubre, I don't know if the steals season was a fluke. So let's see if that can be replicated. DJ McConnell, good pick here by Pat Mamba. Jaime Hackers Jr. by Day to Day Fantasy. He was an option in my next round, but of course he was chosen by Day to Day Fantasy. Kelly Olynyk was picked by Papi Nori, and then Christian Braun by Scott Keller. Okay, last two rounds. Benedict Mathurin, one of the highly targeted young guys last season. Because of the injury, maybe people already forgot about him, but Scott Keller didn't. So he picked Ben Maturin here. Obi Toppin, his teammate was picked next by Papinoli. Brandon Clark, this was a good pick by Day to Day Fantasy. I was actually targeting him as well. DeAndre Hunter by Bat Mamba. Rich Shepard by Raphael Johnson. There's two rookies already in his lineup. Stephon Castle and Reed Shepard. Papi Mike with Zachary Risachet. Jalen Smith by D-Mac. Another good backup center available in this point. Kalel Ware by Brian Dailisan. Nikola Jovic by Mitch Casey. I think this is just his second center eligible player. So basically no centers for this build. Derek Jones Jr. was picked by Sports Mariosep, Papi Joey Villar, and then followed by Rob Dillingham by Kayla, and then Harrison Barnes by Tim Spirit. So at the end, I was really hoping I get, either Steels guy, Blacks guy, but Donovan Klingan was picked by Mati G. So, I guess I have to really settle with Patrick Williams at this point. Peyton Pritchard by Aklan Actor was picked. I also like this Peyton Pritchard pick. KPJ by Kingy. And then from my end, I chose Miles McBride. I think it's going to be a strong option off the bench by the New York Knicks. So why not? And then lastly, and surprisingly, at this point, I thought that several fantasy team world GMs gonna pick Bob Carrington already. I didn't plan to pick Bob Carrington, but when I saw he's still there, and then this is already in the upside flyer territory, so I opted to pick Bob Carrington. After that, several injured names to be stashed was picked. Malcolm Brogdon, Vince Williams. Lou Dort was a nice pick by Matty G. Isaiah Stewart picked by Tim Spirit. And then here, let's see. This is Kashawn George by Kyla. So two rookies back to back by Kyla. Papi Joey with oh no, sorry. Kyla picked Carlo Matkovic. And then Papi Joey picked Kashawn George, his first rookie for his team this in this specific league. DeLon Wright by Ball Boys, another guard. So that's what seven guards already. So wow, that's an interesting build by Mitch Casey. Precious Achua by Fantasy Basketball Crew. Isaiah Jackson by DMAC. This is a good pick for DMAC here. This was actually targeted by a friend of mine, Papi Mike, representing Team PH, but that was actually pick ahead of him. And he actually picked a nice one again with Sam Hauser. I like that pick. He's also an option instead of Carlton Carrington, but I was thinking, oh, if he gets decent minutes and then hopefully gets unleashed in the second half and he's still on my team, then it could bring goodies to my team. Cody Williams, interesting forward scorer for the Utah Jazz, falling to Raphael Johnson. So there's three rookies under Raphael Johnson this for this league. Pat Mamba picking Dylan Brooks. Royce O'Neal by Day to Day Fantasy, Grant Williams by Papinoli, and then to sum it all, Scott Keller finishes the draft with Matas Bozelis. Wow. So that was big. Maybe I'm just mentioning names. I hope you can see this visual, but so you can also do your own analysis. But this was a pretty interesting draft. It's a different format, It's we're gonna go against a specific opponent. So for me, it's fun. There's a lot of surprising picks. It was hard because you understand that people knows their shit for sure. So good luck to everyone, and let's see what Yahoo says about this draft. Currently, number one is from Team PH, Papinoli. He's ranked first. This is driven by a roto format, so not a good reference for head to head, but it's encouraging because if you're good across all stats, then you're doing great. Another team from Team PH here, Team Spirit at number two, day to day, followed by Day to Day Fantasy at number three, and Scott Keller at number four. Let's see what happens if Kristaps Porzingis and Kawhi Leonard impacts this specific rating, followed by Matty G again. Then you have a Clan Archers. I'm in the middle of the pack at number seven, and number eight is Pat Mamba. And then the rest of the second half of the ranking is you have here Mitch Casey with a lot of stats because he has a lot of guard. Raphael Johnson, Papi Mike. I think Papi Mike's build is more of really hard punt head to head. So I think this is gonna flip. He might end up be the top team if we flip sides. Adam King is number 13, Kayla number 14, number 15 is Sports Mariosep, and then last with Fantasy Basketball Crew. So let's see if this is correct. I don't usually check on this. I just happen to show it to you guys because I don't have something in my pocket. But yeah, it was a nice draft. It's super exciting. I had super fun, and hoping that you follow and monitor updates from this league. I'm gonna definitely um put specific time and specific episodes to discuss what are the in and outs and what's the update for the FBPH inaugural Warzone League, Team Philippines versus Team World. So I hope you like this show. Shout outs to all Team PH. Shout out to all Team World. Congratulations to Team World for finishing this league as second runner up. Trash talk to you guys. Good luck, everyone. Kidding aside, we're all friends here. Thank you so much to Adam King, the whole team, world for participating this league. Shout out to Daily Fantasy for sponsoring this specific league, and then to Team PH. Good luck to us. It was a fun draft. It was fun creating a Zoom call, communicating with each other while doing the draft. We weren't able to pass players. Like for example, hey, you want this? Fine, you get this. There were conversations about that, but there were no execution about it. So technically, it's more of like just communication about the whole team PH, and then we're trying to build our own teams. And it just so happened that we were happy for what each other's team ended up. So yeah, congratulations again, everyone, and hopefully this new format will become successful. And if you like and you're interested to do this format as well, let me know. Drop a message to Fantasy Basketball PH Facebook's page, and then you can also reach me at NBA Fantasy Papi at Twitter X. Okay, that's it for this episode. Bye, everyone.